Motin with Marketing Resolution. It's Monday. Are you ready to get started working on your practice development, your marketing, all those great business building efforts? I am. I've even got a cup of hot chocolate. Throw no shade. I know I normally drink coffee, but today's a cup of hot chocolate to get us going on a cold Monday. Today I want to talk about the business plan. Well, let's see. Today I want to talk about the marketing plan section of your overall business plan. Marketing plan is just one portion of the business plan. We've been talking about this the last 2 weeks. We'll continue next week. We're going to talk about the communication section of the marketing plan. So we're trying to break all of these large pieces down into sort of bite-sized and palatable pieces of information that we can act on. So today, all about a marketing plan. If you are joining me for Marketing Monday, drop a note in the comments section, say hi, let me know where you're from. And always, if you've got a question, a concern, a request, put it in the chat, put it in the comments, and let me know what I can help you with. So, all right, let's think a little bit today about a good marketing plan. And a really good marketing plan truly can make a difference for mediators and arbitrators. One of the key things to think about when you're writing a marketing plan for your practice is to start with a goal. And you may remember 3 weeks ago or longer, I did a video on the difference between goals and milestones and tasks. And you'll want to maybe keep those things in mind while you're writing your marketing plan. But one of the overall schools of thought from business school as it applies to marketing plans is something called a SMART goal, S-M-A-R-T, SMART. And it is the acronym for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely, SMART. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. And so as you're writing your marketing plan, kind of keep those 5 points in mind. So for example, you'll want to pick a metric like monthly revenue, right? That is kind of one of the hot buttons that most of us think about when we're writing a marketing plan is monthly revenue. And so as you're setting out your goals in your marketing plan for 2023, you may put in something specific like our goal is to increase monthly revenue by 20% over the next 6 months, right? And of course, your results are going to vary, like the packaging says, but you should pick something that represents success as you view it. When you have a quantifiable goal like this, then some of the other subsequent goals will kind of just fall in line for you. So, for example, you might know roughly how many additional cases you need per month until you hit that target, but you don't really know what's necessary until you kind of get there, and you can measure what happened before and you can measure that against what you'd like to see. So it's one of those things that evolves over time. Now that brings up the next thing that I wanted to talk about, and that is whether or not you ever need to change your marketing plan. And if so, how often? And I think the answer is you don't necessarily need to change it, but you need to allow a marketing plan to be flexible. So the marketing plan that you started out with 5 years ago, this is a really good time to open up that document, look at it, see what's applicable, see what worked, see what hasn't, check to see that your goals were attainable. Make sure that you've still got, you're still on the right track. Most of us aren't. A marketing plan is something that you should probably look at every year. Make sure you're still on the right track. Look to see what goals you set for yourself originally, and then think about why you didn't reach those goals. What has happened? What needs to change? Are those goals still applicable to you? So this is a really good exercise to go through about once a year. Of course, if you're a real mover shaker, really ambitious, speed it up and look at your marketing plan every 6 months. Set shorter term goals and milestones and maybe smaller task lists. But it is something that you have to, in my opinion, look at on a regular basis. The next part of any good marketing plan is going to be a section about research. And you want to research for purposes of marketing what your competition is, not necessarily what you perceive it to be, but what it actually is. And what are they doing to set their practice apart from yours? You might also want to look at trends in the industry. So, for example, the use of video podcasting, AI, offering online, hybrid, or only in-person sessions, all of those kinds of things. So don't just look at the other person or the other practice. Look at the other person, the other practice, how they market, promote themselves, what medium do they use, what kinds of clients do they attract, what kind of fee schedules do they have, how can you make your practice different or better than theirs, and what medium should you be using, right? So do a little bit of research and take notes about all of these kinds of things. Make sure that you are always working to your strengths or bolstering your strengths. So as you're making your list of competitive advantages or weaknesses, the advantages, fantastic. Increase those if you can. The weaknesses, maybe outsource some of your weaker points. You also want to look at, in a marketing plan, what historically has worked for you and what hasn't. You may not have been in business for long enough to really get to know what has been truly efficient and effective for you. But if you've been in business more than 6 months, you'll have a pretty good idea about what works and what doesn't. So, for example, if you started your mediation or arbitration practice and you put in, $5,000 a month on Google ads or Facebook ads, and you haven't been able to verify that any case has come from that expenditure, this is a good time to rethink that budget. Same is true if you've spent a ton of money on a monthly contract for an SEO provider. If you can't verify that a case has come through because of that, you might want to let it go. You might want to reconsider what you're doing in the future. For most of us, the things that work are connecting, networking, establishing relationships with direct consumers and clients of our services, or the sources of referral for our services. And then supporting all of that through writing, speaking, training, and being on social media in an intelligent way. So look to the past, see what has worked, increase that, see what has worked, nix that, or change that. All right. You might also want to include in your marketing plan the amount of time that you have to dedicate to these kinds of activities. And it's not unusual for someone to send me an email or call me or have a meeting with me and they say, yeah, I've got 10 minutes a day, but what can you really do in 10 minutes a day? Actually, you can do quite a little bit. But I have another group of people who say, yeah, I've got an hour a day, but I just don't want to do any of those things. So think about the time that is necessary to build and promote your practice. If you've got a few minutes, then you'll want to create a communication plan. We're going to talk about that next week. That accommodates that kind of scheduling. If you don't want to do any of the things that we're talking about in a marketing plan or a business plan, then you do have to outsource all of those kinds of things. It is a really rare practitioner that can do nothing, to just sit on their laurels and, count on business coming in word of mouth. That's a unique individual. It doesn't happen very often. And if you're a startup, it probably is not what your situation is going to look like. The next thing that you want to look at in a marketing plan is your budget. Now, a lot of us have no idea what a marketing budget should be. You can start out with a zero, a big fat goose egg for your marketing budget, and do just fine as long as you can invest the time. Most of us have to invest, a few $100s at least per year, because we have to pay dues and membership association fees to the associations and organizations that we're going to network within. We attend those functions, those events. You might think about sponsoring a table. You don't really have to pay for social media, but for example, you'd want to include in your budget the $15 per month for a professional Canva account, for example, or buying a third-party restreaming service like the one that I'm using, Restream. Or maybe you want to invest in some nice videography equipment or a microphone. Those are all kind of, costs of marketing and promoting and building your practice. So think about what those budgets might look like. And then you want to actually sit down and write up your plan. So once you've thought about all the things that I've just talked about, then it's time to sit down and really start drafting. You want to do this digitally, of course, so that you can erase, strike through, write over, or pencil, so that it can evolve, it can change. And as you go through the exercise, you'll find that you've forgotten something, or you need to add something, or by the time you get to the end, you think, oh, maybe I put that in, I probably should take that out, because it's just never going to happen. It's not achievable. It's not part of the SMART. It's not smart, right? And again, we're going to work on the very specifics of the communication plan, the to-do list, in next week's video. So join me for that. The next thing that you want to think about as it pertains to your marketing plan is how you're going to make it part of your workflow. Is this something that you're going to, visit and work on daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly? Right? I'm going to suggest at least 3 times a week. But again, we're going to look at the very detailed communication plan and how to lay that out next week. One of the other portions of the SMART is measurable, right? SMART, measurable. So we want to be sure that all of these things that we're putting in our marketing plan, we can measure them so that we know if we need to delete them from our activities list, or we need to improve upon them. Sorry about that. So think about how you can measure the results of your efforts. Some of these you can easily look at in analytics. So for example, on your LinkedIn account, you can easily look at activity. You can look at the views. That's the most important part. And so on your LinkedIn profile, when you go to all activities, look at specifically under the tab posts. And then as you scroll down, you'll see how many views you've received from each one of your posts. And you can then look at each one and say, oh, that type of post worked really well. That type of post wasn't the best. That kind of content got more views. This kind of content got more shares. And in that way, you can kind of refine to some degree, what you're posting, how effective, how efficient it is. On any of these things that you outsource, like SEO or ads, they should be trackable, and those companies should be able to provide you the absolute analytics of clicks, where the information comes from a subscriber, non-subscriber, what the demographic is, all of those kinds of things, so that you can really fine tune where you're spending your time, where you're spending your money, and how you can monitor it, so that if you're making changes to your SEO or your AdSense, make some changes, verbal changes, location changes, reach changes, and then you can measure it. You can monitor it, right? So it's important to be able to measure that. A lot of what we do is not directly measurable. So for example, if the bulk of your marketing plan is going to be in networking, then it is sometimes difficult to measure the efficacy of that, of relationship building, because it will take time for you to be the right person at the right moment for that individual to contact for a case, right? Because we're a service business, we're not a product. So it can be difficult, but you can measure the cumulative effect of 6 months worth of networking. How many cases do you have now versus how many did you have before? And for the bulk of those cases, you'll be able to attribute that in some way to the networking that you've done. So that is the short form outline of a marketing plan. Now, of course, there are very specific marketing plan templates that you can find on Google. There are hundreds, possibly thousands of marketing form templates available for you on Google to download. If you're going to do that, I think that that's a great plan. Again, just be sure that the plan template that you're using is designed for service industry and not a product. So I wanted to just close with a new fun, I don't know, I think it's fun. I'm a nerd, I suppose. A new fun AI tool, the chat tool that everybody's talking about, the AI tool that everybody's talking about. Well, I logged on to ChatGPT and I put in a query that said, write for me a marketing plan that is for a service-based industry specializing in mediation and arbitration. And it did. It wrote in less than 45 seconds, it wrote a marketing plan for me that was surprisingly specific and appropriate. And it is it came up with 5 points really quickly. And I'll read it to you because it's less than a page long. And it says, number 1, target market. The primary target market for the mediation service will be individuals and businesses in the legal industry, including attorneys, paralegals, and clients of law firms. Additionally, the service will target individuals and families in the process of divorce or other family legal disputes. Wow, right? 2, marketing objectives. Increase brand awareness of the mediation service within the legal industry and among individuals and families in the local community. Increase the number of clients utilizing the service by 20% within the first year. Establish the service as a leading provider of mediation services in the local area. Number 3, marketing strategies. Networking. Attend legal industry events and conferences to connect with potential clients and establish relationships with attorneys and law firms. Referral marketing. Encourage satisfied clients to refer friends and family to the service. Online advertising. Utilize online advertising platforms such as Google AdWords and social media to target individuals and families in the local area searching for mediation services. Public relations. Utilize press releases and media outreach to position the service as a reputable and credible provider of mediation services in the local area. Content management. Develop and publish information and educational content such as blog posts, white papers to establish the service as a thought leader in the field of mediation. This AI is so impressive to me. Point number 4, measurement and evaluation. Track website traffic and leads generated from online advertising. Monitor the number of clients utilizing the service and their satisfaction levels. Measure the return on investment of networking and referral marketing efforts. Track media coverage and online mentions of your service. And point number 5, the last point that the AI has created for my marketing plan, budget. A budget will be allocated for attending legal industry events and conferences, online advertising, public relations, and content marketing efforts. The budget will be reviewed and adjusted as needed based on the effectiveness of marketing strategies. I'm telling you, this ChatGPT AI is mind-boggling. Anyway, that is it for me today. I hope that that helped you in some way begin to form a marketing plan for your mediation or arbitration practice. Of course, if you need help, if you need specific information, feel free to reach out to me anytime. I'm happy to provide that as a resource. I hope to see you next week where we will get deep into the weeds of creating a communication plan for your marketing activities. That's it for me. Happy Monday. Have a great week. Be a good human. Bye-bye.